Well, I don't know if this is going to work today. I feel like it's on a delay. So, with that said, we may have to start this in about another day. So basically, I wanted to come here today just to talk about the 2023 housing forecast, both nationally and in Wichita, Kansas. I've got everything set up, but something is going on with the internet now and it's slowing it down. So let me see if I can start a little bit of it. I wanted to go over the NAR, National Association of Real Estate. I want to go over the economic information that Lawrence Yun talks about. I wanted to go over the overview, National Association real estate information, and then I had the 2023 Wichita forecast housing outlook, and then of course the September one. Probably too much information for one session, but I plan to break it up a little bit more as we go along, and but right now, bear with me. I'm new to this whole live situation, so hopefully I can figure out how to add, subtract, upload stuff, and go from there. So with that, let me try to present the first screen. And here we're going to talk about, nope, not that one. Just the general real estate. So this is the lady at NAR that has presented this information. So I'm just going to kind of go over it and talk about some of the current experiences, just so you know this is a little bit outdated. I mean, it's as of, I think, June or July was the information, but wanted to go highlight it. I'll input my personal Wichita experiences in it, some overviews, and so there'll be Wichita information sprinkled throughout. So here we go, just kind of giving overview. Median days on the market, according to the National Association of Realtors, was 14 days. Now, of course, in Wichita, we were seeing 3 days. As this goes back to June, I believe that's that on the bottom right hand, 22206 is June. So across the board, all the statistics that they were pulling says it's about 14 days on the market. Obviously, in June, the market was going crazy. Houses were appreciation, multiple offers, but this is showing the data that correlates to what we've been talking about. And then again, remember, I'm going to talk about the forecast of 2023. The reason I want to do this is just because I get asked so much, is there a recession? What's inflation doing? And all that sorts of stuff. So hopefully this kind of gives an overview about what's been happening this year, more like around the summertime. And then as we go toward the later part, some forecasting, and then of course the 2023. So again, yes, small days on the market. This just shows you homes selling under a month. Of course, a whopping 88% as of right now, where back in 2011, just a quarter of the markets were going under a month. So buyers had a better time back here. Of course, once it gets up here, you're in a seller's market. It's going crazy. And really that just comes down to, I'm going to say this probably a lot, supply and demand. We don't have enough houses for everyone that's looking. Here again, as we saw over the summer, according to the statistics across the nation, we're seeing 3.4 as of June, multiple offers. And at the height was 5.5. Again, we're talking on average because, of course, what happens is the most gorgeous, beautiful houses everybody wants. So in that case, and I'm talking Wichita, so we're not going to have the numbers as you have in the coasts, California, where I'm from, and New York, and just all the big cities around. Here we're getting, I guess 20-ish, 30 maybe. Again, we're talking more the median price point. In our case, it's like, the 200s, lower 200s. I know the big cities love that number, super affordable here. But even for here, again, the multiple offer is going crazy. But so that kind of shows you, it's saying, according to all the statistics, 5.5 offers on average on the height, and then 3.4. We saw a lot of buyers waiving contingencies from appraisal to inspection, and down below you see the orange is talking about the appraisal, blue is talking about the inspections, but about a third of the market was waiving those on the offers. just because in order to get selected, you had to kind of go over asking and weigh the contingencies. And again, in my experience, I always see everybody wants the HGTV homes. People just don't have time. So if sellers can get that, to an extent to that point, you have such a better chance of getting a quicker sale, more offers on a sale, even as we move forward, because we're still going to have some low inventory for a while. And just recently, my most recent showings, I mean, my buyer ended up choosing to rent because people were pricing their stuff above even what, you know, um, people wanted on the market. I mean, they were pricing it so high that even the people out looking didn't want it because it just wasn't in the so it's not the truth that where everything's selling during the heyday. It was all the great ones were selling, and still a lot more were selling, don't get me wrong, especially in the midsummer. But at the end there, if they weren't priced right, but that goes to anything, you can't price it just anywhere you want to. But and right now we are starting to see more the inspections coming back, appraisal contingencies coming back, sellers paying closing costs. So we are seeing that, and I'm speaking as of today, October 24. Here, let's talk about the cash buyers. They say cash is king, but it's not always. It surprised me when during the heyday, I was talking to other agents for my buyers, and they were saying, here are some samples of what we're seeing. They'd give me the scenario, and they say, but I don't think the buyer's going to get it. Like I remember hearing, 12 to 13-ish, offers on this house. She's like, and I would hear, oh, but the cash buyer's not going to get it. Cash buyers sometimes come in so low, and if they don't escalate up to high enough amount, what I was saying is that they were taking a lending option, probably conventional, I'd guess, because we know FHA, VA, USDA have all had a hard time as far as loan programs getting, and that's because of the stricter, well, they're trying to be protected, but that kind of hurt them this year. Just the stricter aspects to the appraisals. If you have peeling paint, if you have wood rot and other aspects like that, it does get called out on FHA, VA, and the USDA being just the tougher restrictions. So here are the cash buyers. We're looking at about a quarter of them are cash buyers right now, 25%, where looks like, I think he said 2014. It was that 35%. So even a third at that point or higher of cash buyers. We're about at 25%. Now, this was the non-primary. Let me try to raise this up a little bit. Non-primary resident buyers, which basically talking about vacation or small investors. They're not talking about the big, huge guys. They're just talking about, the people that want second homes. So as you can see over here during the COVID time period, hit a good high at 22%, and then now we're about 22%. So that's people buying a second home so they have someplace else to go. First-time home buyers are having a harder time right now competing. We're at 30%. We're over here 53%. This was about 2008, 9, and 10. And this was because they had that tax credit back then. I remember I bought my house around then, but they did have a tax credit that helped people be able to buy first-time homes. So hence why it's so high. And then just right now it's come down pretty low, just, the way appreciation's going. The first-time home buyer, FHA might be a little tougher if they're using that loan program just to get accepted. And here we go. Trying to get this. Oops. Trying to get the screen a little better. Okay. Oh, not that one. And then the next one. So share and distress sales. Okay. Well, at least on a good note, I know 8, 9, and 10, 2008, 9, 10, after, all the subprime lending had gone out and people were losing their homes, 49%, as you can see. So it was quite the heyday of being able to buy a property and at a nice reduced cost. And I still get nowadays people going, oh, sure, show me the pre-foreclosures and so and so. But hey, we're at a whopping 1%. So yeah, they're pretty much not around. We don't really expect them to really be much around in the near future, just because over the last, since the 8, 9, and 10, when the lenders really tightened up, I think from what I've understood, they've opened up a little bit, but they tightened up so much at this point with the rules that it's gotten to the point where, they just weren't lending to anybody that was questionable. And so and then of course with appreciation coming, equity has just gone, bonkers. And so I think we have a slide coming up on the when we get to Lawrence Yune's. I keep trying to. Okay, let's do that. Maybe that'll work. Okay. Now we just kind of go talk about opportunities. So what we've seen is the virtual showings, and this really happened a lot with me during COVID. I still can do it somewhat if it's an out of town buyer. I'm not really doing it right now, so to speak. And I'm not, but what's great is that the options there, and there'd be so where data is just from 2020. Since of course we didn't really have virtual showings, but yeah, we all got crazy with. I mean, I was, you're walking around watching the agents walk around with their phones. It's kind of funny. I would do it two different ways. I would either do FaceTime with my client if they had the time, or video. Video worked great because that allowed clients to be able to check back and watch it at their leisure, look it over and over again. But, obviously it's still not the most ideal, because you're not seeing the neighborhood driving around. But as we can see, about 13% during this peak, and now we're kind of about 12%. And I'm not seeing it that much, but don't get me wrong, if it's an out of town buyer, possibly investor, it's great that we have that now. Remote work continues to influence trends. We're seeing the great resignation, as they call it, and some more slides we'll see coming up in Lawrence Yunes. He's the NAR economist. He's got a couple that will expand on this, but 85% are purchasing outside city centers. And even after COVID, 34% of buyers want work from home features. So definitely having the home offices, I'm seeing that in various houses at this point. It's still highly desired. Here's just another, this is surprising to me, except that I hear about it all the time, that most people think that it's more than 20, and I guess technically according to the slide, it's 35% think that down payment is 16 to 20% is required. Where a lot of people think it's more than 20%, but no, you've got the 3%, 3.5%, of course, VA, USDA. Have 0%. USDA is a rural loan. So if it's more so on the outskirts, outside the city, different websites will tell you which properties and addresses fit with that. Then there's rules. And so if you want more information on that, we can talk about that. And I can give you specifics for the Wichita area, of course. And they have certain even other programs for that. But yeah, it is. So 35%, believe that down payment needs to be somewhere to 16 to 20%. So if more people had understood that, no, it's only 3.5%, on the FHA, and conventional, first time home buyer conventional is 3%. Other than that, it's at 5% for conventional. But yeah, so people believe that 35%, that you do need 16 to 20% saved up. And that's hard for a first time home buyer. So we need to kind of dispel that myth. Now, this kind of shows the typical down payment upon home buyer. So you got the blue line, which is first time home buyers at 7%. You got the green line, which is 17%. And that's for the repeat buyer. So the second, third, fourth, you're more savvy. You've been through one house sale. You kind of got the gist of it. Looks like back here. And this starts from 89. Over here is about 25%, looks like a high on 23%. But yeah, right now we're at 17%, and first time home buyers are at 7%. The data is showing. We are seeing energy efficiency from people looking for homes is somewhat valuable. So a good portion of it, and I consider that being, upgraded heating and air. You got windows, insulation, possibly. I've been having to figure that out in my own home. So I kind of, from the data that I figured out, it sounds like maybe window replacement is more important than insulation, but I'm still checking that out. But so yeah, here, this is what buyers are saying, that it is, fairly valuable. Now, with that said, let's check out this. This is what buyer wants versus the reality. The reality is we're buying homes 29 years old. And I'll say that everyone wants to open concept idea now. But the typical home that I'm showing is 29 years old. So it goes back to this energy efficiency. 7 and 10, they feel like heating and cooling is important, windows and doors, insulation, but just that the energy efficiency, even though the homes are 29. So unless the windows have been replaced, It's not as efficient unless the heating and air is replaced. But when you're looking at homes, you can just check that out. But this is what buyers want versus reality. And like I said, I really see that, we just don't have the full open concepts. Those are the newer houses, the 10-year-old houses possibly. And so of course the ballpark of pricing on that is much higher. Okay. 1 in 5 millennial and Gen X buyers are compromising on the condition of the home, partly because they want the HGTV, but in reality, they need to find, just kind of like the previous slide showed. So, this was a study done by NAR, cost of recovery on remodeling projects. So I really like this. Gives me a lot to talk about with buyers. The hardwood, it's funny, I had just flipped the house and I just didn't know this hardwood flooring refinish was shocking. In fact, when I sell my house, that's going to be, something I might be doing or changing the flooring, but hardwood flooring refinish, I did not realize 150%. Wow. Versus new wood flooring is 118%. Insulation upgrade, that kind of goes back to the efficiency. And then you go further and further down, but you have either, and some of those was interesting. You have bathroom renovation and kitchen upgrade here, or a complete kitchen renovation. So you got more return on a complete kitchen renovation versus the kitchen upgrade. But then again, it depends on how much the cost is. So that's some good information. And then here's just the joy score on remodeling projects, and saying that there's some inexpensive fixes you can do that, just makes it beautiful and you get huge return on it. But just painting and interior or versus one interior room, adding a new home office. Of course, that makes sense to me based on COVID and that we all started working from home. And then it continues to go on. This hardwood flooring refinish is huge. New wood flooring. And then that was interesting. Closet renovation. I understand it, but I was surprised to find that on here. And then again, goes down kitchen renovation, kitchen upgrade, bathroom renovation, which is surprising that these are down here when they always say kitchen and bathrooms sell a home. So, alrighty, with that, let's go to this is the Economist. I'm not going to talk on all these slides, but again, it's just painting the picture before we get to the forecast. This is just talking about are we in a recession or not, and what he says if it's like 2 consecutive months, I guess, in the red, this GDP change. I'm not your biggest economist, so I'm not going to go in complete detail on this, but he said basically down the road, 10 years from now or something like that, they tell you whether you were in a recession or not, even though they're calling this a very interesting recession. But according to the definition, he says, it would be, but then he contradicts himself and knowingly and says, but they don't determine it till down the road. So, because of course we're seeing all the YouTube, TikTok, Instagrams, clickbait stuff. Are we in a recession? What's going on? Should I buy a home now? I get all the questions of, should I buy a home now, or is the house pricing going to fall out? And kind of that's where we're getting to by providing all this background data and then the forecast, which I'll get to in a while. And mostly it's going to be a Wichita forecast. I'll touch base on some national stuff too. This just shows that there's more job openings than unemployed. Not as many people are looking for jobs as so that's why he's calling it a bizarre labor market. And some of the other stuff he talked about is that because everybody's looking for work, and I actually saw this on a Facebook just this past week by one of the big aircraft companies. I can't remember which one, and I didn't write it down, but they were increasing it from 16 or something dollars to $20 an hour. So he's saying where he believes maybe back in the day, people had two jobs, but because they don't need two jobs because the pay is getting higher, that could be some of this. And he was just, speculating, giving us his 2 cents as he is the economist. And again, this is Lawrence Yoon that did these slides that I'm showing you. He's the NAR Economist, National Association of Realtors. But yeah, just basically saying that there is more job openings than unemployed, and that a lot of people aren't looking for jobs. Like I think when COVID kicked in, and as you probably know, construction jobs, as you've heard, that since inventory is so low, they're going crazy trying to build as many houses as they can. And we'll talk later about the permits are up here in Wichita. I mean, it used to be 1,000. Now we're at the 1,500 mark. And there was a panel during our local Wichita one when we did have Lawrence Yun here fed into our conference as well, but um just talking about the costs of what the builders are, even in the infrastructure. I believe it's kind of probably meaning like the water and the infrastructure of building the neighborhoods, and how it had to be priced at a certain point for even them to make money. We know lumber and all that's increased as well. So, but yeah, construction jobs. So, definitely not shortage of a jobs at this time. And then, yeah, this was the one I was kind of mentioning with the other graph. We're just looking at that extra number of people who are not even looking for a job. So I guess back here, they were looking for jobs when COVID hit. They're like, okay, don't need to. And I guess they found ways of not having to work. And here they are. Looks like not even looking for a job, even though this was like, again, COVID versus now. So again, this just us explaining the labor market and how it's affecting the housing. And this is payroll jobs. Basically, he's talking W-2. They were in the thousands, and COVID hit. Of course, everyone was not working, and then it's kind of climbed back up. So again, looking pretty decent. The payroll jobs are basically almost to the point of where it was before COVID hit. And again, there's still a lot more jobs, which is why pay is increasing, that people don't want to work. I don't know if it's, do all the new kind of jobs that are out there with the YouTubers and this or that, but anyway, so here, there's the jobs now versus the pre-COVID days. I'm just gonna talk Kansas specifically. The blues all in the good, above. They're above what was before COVID. The reds are all catching up to COVID, so we're at a negative 1.7. So it looks like Kansas is still catching up to jobs for the pre-COVID days. And here we're getting into, let's talk about the residential real estate. And this is again all on a national level. I'm sprinkling in Wichita related, but we'll get to Wichita and then another couple presentations. This just shows an overview from 2020, actually. So just the last 2 years. It just shows COVID jumped down. These are from closed sales. And it's trickling down now, partly with inflation, partly with the interest rate going up. We still have obviously a few amount of listings out there, but the payments are of course going up a lot more. And this graph is specifically for closed, when the title work's done, the money's paid out, the mortgage, and all that, the end of it, and it is, money is transferred. But yeah, it's still trickling down, and that's really from, gosh, I guess we're looking at December in this case. So down, 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 down. And, of course, prices are going this way, appreciating, and home sales are going down. But that's, again, a lot of limited inventory. And this is June. So the interest rates weren't really creeping back up a ton. So that's further out here. So I got to remind myself and you guys that this is through June. Pending home. So this is kind of showing you what the future of the market is showing just against a baseline. Obviously, we got COVID, and let's just look at now, it's going down. So that's going to affect the next couple months. And of course, we're already past that from as far as this graph. But it is trickling down, and I believe it still is. The last month I did, which I'll show in this case here. We'll go over that in a bit. But that, oops, not that one. And looks like I forgot to change the screen. And this is why I'll be doing several more of these so I get better at this. Sorry about that. Let's see. I think that's this one. Okay. Okay, so you missed a lot of that because I'm on page 11 of 31. Let's keep going. Inventory is turning higher, but still inadequate. What he's talking about is back here. January, it's slightly, and we are seeing it slightly creep up. I'm trying to get this to where we can see. Okay, so here we go. So you can see the whole slide. Okay, so yeah, I mean, we're still seeing that. I mean, we're still just racing to get, again, we're still low listings, more buyers, a lot of buyers that are in the rental. I've got several of my buyers that are still renting. And may who knows how long, because what they could afford back, a couple of them, what they could afford back 2 years ago, they can't afford now. Went from a 2-car garage, now it's at a 1-car garage for a couple of them. And some current ones that just went to a rental, moved here from out of state, and they just weren't finding the decent stuff on the market. They've definitely seen plenty of properties, and so just going to hold out just a little bit longer, see what comes on the market. So price adjustment on okay, so this is why it's important to list the house correctly, and that's just showing you, hey, the more you're on the market, the more you're going to do a price reduction. So you may as well, again, we're seeing that just because you have the huge heyday in the summer. You know most of the people are kind of knowing now that the prices are going down somewhat. I mean, we still have low inventory, but with the interest rates increasing, it's, stopping the buyers from an affordability aspect to kind of see what happens. And so 0 to 7 days, you're looking at 5% if it's on the market for 7 days. Because in the summer, of course, if anything was on the market for a minute, you'd be like, what's wrong with it? Because there's so many buyers at that time, and the interest rates were great as well. So they were, still paying what 10, 20, 30-ish over here. I mean, I heard some ridiculous ones like 45,000 on 170K home got sold for 206. And then another one I heard had gone 100,000 over, which is huge in this Wichita market. That's not huge, I understand, in, New York and California, but in this Wichita market, when I heard that, I was like, whoa, I'm not sure what price range that was, and they didn't get the house, by the way, on the 100K over, but the 45K over shocked me. I had to go talk to the agent because she was with our office. I went down the hall and I said, and she said it appraised pretty close to it as well, but that wasn't as normal, but 10 to 20 ish, depending on house and higher, because everybody wants the perfect houses. But if you go on, like, for 120 plus days, you're at 10%. In fact, this morning I was just talking with a client at this exact date, 10/24 October, and we had noticed that, how she's interested. And it's a new build, it's a patio home, built a couple years ago, but it just came down $65,000 in pricing. And so, as we're going over all that, is kind of surprising, but it is priced right where the neighborhood is at this point. Maybe in the heyday they could have gotten that potentially. Not sure. Okay. And I'll just kind of leave this to you. Let the economist speak this up, but he was just, the blue line's the mortgage rate for the last 22 years. Red line is the Fed's funds rate. Existing home sales. So we got some of the forecasting starting. The green, so let's see. So here's COVID. It jumped up last year. Of course, we're now in 2022, so we have a quarter to go. October, November, December. And they're forecasting it to end less than last year and not quite up to 19, but about where 19 was. So, so it's not going to do these huge jumps. It's coming down. And these are for actual existing homes sold. He talks, I won't go much into this, but he talks about, the absence of international buyers. Of course, we saw a ton of what they call institutional investors, buying up a bunch of housing, making it a little more difficult for first-time home buyers. But here we're just talking about the international buyers. It really dipped here in the end, just mostly because, the flight, they canceled the flights and whatnot due to COVID. And so we did have an absence. And so he's saying, basically, he's going to see an uptick of that as we move forward. This just shows you where they're buying, where they're going to. Florida is number 1, California 2, and then Texas, Arizona, New York. And then the next slide kind of shows, and that was Here, let's go back just because here's 2022 down here. So a quarter of them are going to Florida. Then you got them California, Texas, and Arizona. And then let's go check. And this is where they're coming from. So you got Canada, Mexico, then China, India, Brazil, and onward. It's kind of just showing you 2022 is at the bottom. Fannie Mae is asking, basically, is this a good time to buy? Doesn't look like it according to their question mark. But as the economist said, he goes, they might say that, but they don't exactly follow what they say. So, but Fannie Mae does this little Q&A. Now, here's the one I wanted to show you. Yeah, this is where it just shows you that there's a lot of housing wealth out there for those that have bought over the past. I mean, they've, which were not in trouble with any housing crash as much as as much as 8, 9, and 10 were with that subprime. I mean, it's just going up ever since 13. It's just been going up and up and up and up and up. So this is the housing valuation, and then this is minus the mortgage debt. So again, a lot of housing wealth out there. So just shows it's in a good position. So here's the forecast. I think the next part's commercial, so I'm not going to really go into that. But so this kind of shows you the forecast. You got 19, 20, 21, and 22. Looks like the unit sales are down. And that's more, again, lack of inventory, minus 13%. The home prices, of course, are up. Dollar volume is down somewhat. And they see 23 as unit sales being around the same, home pricing, to increase a little bit, and dollar volume a little bit. I wanted to find the slide. I couldn't find it before here, but I did just do a recent, I think a YouTube video where 6 of the big players, NAR, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Zeller, MBA, Mortgage Bankers Association, and one other, all gave their opinion on appreciation or depreciation. 5 out of the 6 said appreciation with their various numbers, and 1 said depreciation at -3. So the outcome of that, several of them were 4%. The outcome of that was it averaged at 2.5%. So that kind of makes me think of this number here, where they're forecasting next year from a national level, not Wichita. And it was 2.5 in that case. And here he's saying 2%. So that's kind of the forecasting I'm seeing. And again, here's commercial. I don't want to really, for my purposes, talk about that. All righty. Now, with that said, let's go to Wichita and share the screen. Let me go. I got 2 of them to show. Let me go this one first. So now we're getting, and that was not the one I wanted to go to. So let me go back for a second. And share. Okay, here. This is the one I want to share. Okay, this is the WSU Barton School of Business. Stan Longhofer, and this was just presented to us. So this goes more into very specifics with my town, Wichita, Kansas, the South Central Kansas MLS. And sorry, but my screen, let me see if I can. Internet decided, right, of course, before live, not to work that great, which is why I started at 4:10, where I meant to start earlier. And this might be an issue. We'll see. Hold on. Okay, I may not be able to show the full screen. So it says I'm on screen 5, and I know I'm not. So, well, with that, let's try the other one. I might have to do this on a different day. So this is the booklet that we have, and this is great information. I love this one. It kind of talks, to some, it might seem a recent explosion in home pricing was due to the pandemic, but they're talking about no, it's a supply problem that's been building for years, culminating in low listings and lots of buyers. It started 2020. And so as a result, Wichita has less than 4 months supply of homes. And to be honest, this past year, I've been saying it's been half a month of supply of homes. We're finally over 1 month supply of homes, which is great. So we have more listings. And we're still in a seller's market. And he's talking about there's a significant softening in demand due to higher mortgage rates, which I've been talking about. It'll take a long time for Wichita to return to a balanced market again. The builders are scrambling to build, but at some point it still needs to be quality. They're going crazy, and of course leading to the huge construction job that we were talking about. And then it talks about the frenzied demands that were characterized the market through the early part of this year appears to have eased. But we still do have tight inventories, and that's going to continue. He's talking about the upward pressure on home prices. And here we've got the graphs to show that they're expecting it to end at up 12.5% with a 4-point appreciation. We'll go that. That's, I think, in the next slide. So here, let's look at the graphs. Again, homes available for sale. Down, 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 down. And this is showing, okay. The active listings are in the green, and then the moving average. So that's 2022. And then here, the yellow is Wichita. Kansas is this dark middle one, and US is this green one. And so, as you can see, Wichita, USA, has better than Wichita. Wichita's down here at the bottom. Inventory available. And here we got home appreciation, which he ends that last paragraph with. And that's what I like looking at. And this is what I talk to most of my buyers about. You've got let me blow it up for you. You got 12.9 where they're expecting to end this year, but 4.7 next year. So the national one is saying that, they're expecting national 2.5% appreciation. But Wichita data, these guys are expecting a 4.7% appreciation. So that's great. When I get asked the question, oh, if I buy or if I bought in the last year or two, is it just going to fall out from under me? It's like, well, it's still going to appreciate. So I guess unless you bought it drastically overpriced, if you could have afforded it, but a lot of times you might have had to bring some maybe appraisal gap to the table. I suppose you could be somewhat under, but again, it's still going to keep appreciating. So that's great to see. And this one's hard to trying to go page by page. So bear with me here. Oh, that's the back. Okay. So here. Here's it talking about the Kansas forecast. I try to stick more so to Wichita, but let's just kind of go quickly over it. Oh, okay. Here they're talking about permits, and that's Kansas. I want to get to Wichita. Okay. So, and they do have this, right up here, and I can email this to you as well, but here's showing each of the cities in Kansas. And of course, I'm always looking at Wichita. So again, look at this. Purple is showing you 22, 23. So this is the forecast one. Again, 4.7 appreciation. We're expected to end at 12.9. The building permits, though, they went from 993 and 18. We're at 1,400, 1,500, and 1,500. So, the builders are scrambling. Hopefully they can keep the quality control. That's my only concern. The sales volume. And then here's the average price, which I love to look at. 165 and 18. And we're now over 215. So that kind of gives you a snapshot. And I believe so. There's that. And let's go back and see if that other one is working yet. And it's really more so just this. My internet decided to slow down. Is this? Yeah, I think this is it. Okay, let's see if this is working in this case. No, it's still showing. Okay. Let me see if I can go back. Yeah, this doesn't want to. Well, I guess I'm going to have to scroll up and down. Okay. So Kansas employment has not recovered from the pandemic recession, but it's not bad. Here's the top, so here's yellow, which is Wichita. Although with that said, there's still plenty of jobs. Unemployment rates are near historic lows. Again, that's good for the economy. People can afford houses. Wichita employment forecast, as you can see, from really low in 2020. And here's where, just because we don't have the third quarter yet, it's just going to keep increasing. So again, Wichita employment forecast is looking good. I know sometimes we have some new businesses coming. Well, wait, is that Wichita? Okay. Inflation expectations, I'm just going to talk to you about. Here's the 5-year break-even rate, and this is what the Stan Longhofer, who gave us this presentation, he said this is the one that's important to look at, and they're feeling very good about it being at this level, in the 2 to 4% rate. So what they've kind of said, at one point I heard it was going to maybe expected to be forecasted 7s, and then recently they're saying for next year, like under the 6s. So that's great news that, that to me says it's going to start going down, but that is what I have been hearing as I've been preparing for this MBA, which is the Mortgage Bankers Association mortgage rate forecast. As you can see here again, the orange, it looks like it's, it peaked at the 7s. It looks like it's going to be going in the direction that we all want it to. Again, hopefully answering your inflation mortgage rate question. Wichita home sales, as we can see, it's been going down. That's due to an inventory supply and, of course, the interest rates. So this is kind of, then last year. Well, these are just home sales. We're not really talking about units, not the appreciation, but kind of peaked a little bit here, and then we're definitely trajecting downward. Wichita home sales forecast. So here we are at the end of 2022. So it's down from last year, but over what it was in 2020. And of course, in that case, though, we were shut down for a while. So a little over that, and then going to continue about the same the next year after, a little bit more, but fairly even. Active listings were too low even prior to the pandemic. So yeah, they're trying to make up for 10 years of reducing inventory, and building like crazy. In fact, this was fun. Like, okay, here's the units, 3,000, 2,000, 1,000. Here is, let me switch for a second. I want to show you this cool graph that I found, and I'll continue to share this in future presentations. It's the trying to figure out how to share my Excel spreadsheet. Okay, let's see if this should be it. Okay, so this in conjunction with that is, check this out. So this is active listings in Wichita. We have 1,000, and where we show, look at this, all under 1,000 this year, how many low listings there were. And then I wanted to see, hey, what was the highest? So then I had to go years. Okay, we're in 2021, 1,000, that's 21. And then last summer, and then 1,000. And this just also shows, here we go, talk about how much month supply. We're at a month supply now, thank goodness. But 2,000 kind of shows you a little over 2 months supply. And then I think I saw some 3s and some 4s as we went back, but we're going back to 7. See, we finally hit over 3,000 in 15, summer of 15. So that's showing us over 3,000 homes on the market, where right now, or most of this year, we were under 1,000. Sometimes 600, 700. But so once we get to 3,000, we're about 3 3.8 months supply of inventory. I think we get a 3,000. So 2014 had a lot of 3,000. So good months, 4 months supply of inventory, which is, I think, kind of they're saying the threshold of a seller's market. And let's see, I thought yeah, here's 4,000, and that was in 2012. So that you're saying a 6 month supply of inventory. So buyers had a lot to choose from back then. And then we got some more fours in the 2010s. So that was just kind of fun to look at. Then I also come over here and look at the days on market. And of course, as you see, when the inventory increases, the days on market, like if you're selling a house, you're looking at 3 months for median, 60 days, so 2 months. Then let's check out the sale price here. Like, okay, we're in what year? We're in 2011 here. So you're looking at 110, 110, 120. Let's then 145 and 19. And we finally get over the twos in 22. Look at that. That went from 195 to 220 in April to May of 2022. And then it kept 17 to, but just basically over the twos in the first time for median price. And that's what we typically look at as median price, not the average. It's more of a real picture. Yeah, look at that. So, and then not that it only slightly go over two, it went 25,000 from, and I do a monthly update during it, and I think I remember seeing that number going, wow, holy cow. Alrighty, let's get back to okay, well, I just get back to the other presentation. I think it was the forecast here we are. Okay. So active listings were too low. So let's see, fraction of sales discounted from original price. So it's just showing you, discounted sales, just what things were reduced that were listed that aren't priced accurately, which kind of surprising me. I know the prices are going down, but if stuff still is not, this slide just always tells me the importance of pricing correctly. Otherwise you're chasing it, and buyers aren't stupid. Well, usually because they have an agent informing them of what's going on, but also you can kind of figure out, hey, if they're going into every home that's on the market in that neighborhood or in that area, they know they're going to go for the best of the best. And if not, as we're seeing now, they're going to sit it out and wait till listing prices are figured out for what they want. Median days on market, as you can see, it's crazy low right now. And I just went through that spreadsheet that kind of showed you why. You have a high inventory, stays on the market longer. You have low inventory, it goes fast. Even as demand softens, it will remain a seller's market. That's just because we don't have enough inventory. Let's see. Annual home appreciation has gone crazy up. So lucky people that bought it in the last, really since, gosh, it's even 2010. Well, let's look at the yellow, which is, yeah, that doesn't look, Wichita does not lose as much as when something goes up or bad. So at least on a good note, it doesn't go as far down as the rest of the U.S., like the big cities. It kind of stays more neutral. But still, it went down. And then looks like about 10, 11, 12-ish. If you bought there and just kept going up. And of course, if you bought like right here, you can turn around and sell it for a profit without having to do the typical wait for years and years and years. So yeah, we've seen this. Houses have appreciated. But this is the data that backs up what you hear on the news and what people are saying. Home price appreciation forecast. So this is my favorite slide. Basically, we're still looking to appreciate. Not that the bottom's going to drop out. It's still prices are still creep up, not down. It was crazy 21 this past year, crazy more from the low inventory. And then next year, though, on a good note, it's going to continue to head in the right direction. So buying a house is still a good idea. I mean, and it always is. It's, as we know, it's kind of the number one wealth strategy of a lot of people. So new home construction, here's the huge negative downslide, which is why we're so low on listings and whatnot. So now they are climbing as of 2020, climbing back up, and it's going to be still quite a long time before, as I think we noticed earlier in one of the presentations where they said, it's going to take a while to become a balanced market again. And this is the permits that the builders are getting. It's up to, should be, well, as far as I know, what was announced was that there's, it's 1,500 permits to build right now, which is going to keep increasing. Households, this was interesting. Households continue to get smaller. This was just stating how, lots of people live together. You got what, 2 point something people per household, 2.63 or something, and now it's going to closer to a 2.5. But people are, getting more independent. Let's call it living alone, and so that's a trend in that direction, which means that we need more houses, possibly more duplexes, possibly more apartments, or just single person condos, or even the patio homes could be just for future, single people versus just the elderly, because baby boomers will go, it's such a big population right now. It won't always be. New home construct. This is kind of, I guess, really what I was trying to say, the 1,500 permits being built just to keep the housing. This is from the Wichita Area Builders Association. This is the last weekend they're doing a parade of homes. So in Wichita, to see all the new builds, they have 3 weekends of parade of homes. The fall one's usually in October. The spring one's typically in April. And so it's this group here that is, follows the trends of how many permits are being built, which we know seriously needed in order to get the inventory back to a normalized equal for buyers and sellers. And here you go. Here's a great slide that puts it all in a nutshell. We're looking at 20, 21, 22, 23. Total home sales, 0.6 increase, down, and then up a little bit. Building permits just keep going up. 1397, 14, 15, 15-ish. And then appreciation, 7.7, 14.6. And these are the forecasted ones, 12.9 and 4.7. So that's the number that's really kind of staying in my mind, as I'm always looking out to next year just when talking to the buyers. And then thank you to Security First and Ameritrust Home Loans. The only last thing I wanted to talk about, and this is probably way too much information for this particular presentation, but it's just the September, no, it's October. So yeah, September data that comes out monthly. And let's see. And this is quite the information. So here's so this always comes out monthly. Houses fell last month compared, and this is all of South Central. Sometimes I do just Sedgwick County because that takes up the bulk of the population out here. But so this one though shows all of it, and this is comparing this year's numbers to the previous September numbers. So I'm just going to highlight this because I believe this is probably way too much information for today. But basically, the housing fell. The average price of existing homes was $224, an increase of about 10% from $204. This is the number I always like to show every month, but it is counting it toward a year ago. that spreadsheet I showed a little bit ago, that was kind of cool because that's where I found where it's showing it compared to the last month. New construction's 59 is down from 70 units a year ago, so that's even down. Average sale price of new homes, this is new homes, is 401,000, up 16%. And then just kind of goes into some more detail. And here's what down the road, I'll do some live shows talking about, little nice graphic, but then we can go, show home sales. This is always where it's kind of cool to look at. Where's my cursor? It's 1108 down to 915 this year. Active listings, at least it's 1,000. So, and this is great to see, one versus, half a month, 1 to 1.2. That's going in the right direction. Listings, new listings are down. And then I always go here and look at, median sale price, 185 to 210's up. And then lots of other cool stuff. This kind of shows just a nice overall graph with everything right there. Just the same stuff we talked about. Closed listings are down. Average is price appreciation's up. And then lots more graphs. So I'll go in more detail of this stuff in others. But so there you have it. My intent is to start doing more of these lives with numbers, forecasts for the future, what we're seeing. So hopefully, if you have any questions on it, give me a holler. Thanks for watching and hope you got something out of it. Have a good one.